Hallelujah. Glory. Hallelujah. Thine the glory. Hallelujah. 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 Glory. Hallelujah. 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 Thine the glory. Hallelujah. 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 Sifuselele. Hallelujah. Tomorrow. Hallelujah. 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 Tomorrow. Thine the glory, hallelujah. Thine, hallelujah, hallelujah. Amen. Hallelujah. Thine the glory. You may be seated for a few minutes. So, when the revival happened at Word of Life many years ago, we actually started in our home, and I'm blessed today that we have a few people who are there, and in particular, the chairman of our board, Advocate Brian Kagoro, is here. But you know, this church started off with a bunch of young people. We're not as big as you are now. Just a bunch of young people who became dissatisfied with church the way it was. You know, we were in a church, a good church like you are in, and we were dying in that church. Some of the young people backslid in that church. Some of them went back to night clubbing. Some of them went back and became homosexuals. Some of them became drunkards. In a church, from a church like this one. Just because you've got a good praise and worship and lights and so on, it doesn't always mean you are doing what is making the life of God sustainable in a church. And sometimes in a church that has been established and running, and we've got departments, and you may think you're doing okay. But there's some things that Mom was talking about that we need to take heed and bring ourselves back to those days. Allow me in the few minutes that I have to seek to talk about those things. And I'm actually not here to have a conference myself. I'm looking for something that could have been lost somewhere along the way. This church grew because there was a bunch of young people that were passionately, zealously pursuing God. I see that we still have young people in this church, and that's good. But young people in this church without God means nothing. Impact without God means nothing. Impact without passion means nothing. The thing that grew all of that is that people, when the young people, they were radical. That's where the name radical came from. Radical young people. Some of them are married now, and some of them have settled down to it and to the sadness of God. You know, sometimes people grow up and they get married and then they settle down. They lose that little thing. They lose that something that brought them to where they are right now. And I'm sorry to say, I see some people who some years ago were passionate, were excited, were on fire for God. And then they got married, God bless them. And then God bless them, their children, then God bless them. Some of them became business people, some of them became pastors and deacons. And something went missing somewhere. It's that thing. It's that thing that I'm looking for. If you were to ask me what made Word of Life grow during those days, I would say it is those young people. And I want to talk to the young people, and that's why we laid hands on you earlier on in the morning. I want to talk to those young people. We need you to rediscover. We need you to go back to that spirit of passion and fire. That uncompromising. Now, let me tell you, well, those young people I'm talking, there were not many, but they were uncompromising. We were not compromising with sin. We were not compromising with, if you were doing the wrong thing, those people told you. If you were out of line, those people told you. Hallelujah. You know, there was a restaurant around the corner here. It used to be called Pizza Gate. I don't know what they call it. Now, if you came to church, and there were not many of us, and if you started acting out, I was not the one that was speaking to people. I was not the one rebuking people. They just take you down here, give you some pizza, and tell you, please, if you're going to carry on like this, don't come to church. Because we are serious about Jesus here. We almost lost our lives in another church. We are not going to lose our lives here. We are not coming here to lose our lives. We're not coming here to lose our Christianity. We're not coming here to sing and dance and shout and so on and not go anywhere. We are coming here for serious stuff. That's what I'm talking about. That's the revival we are looking for. We are looking for those young people. Those young people were the foundation of this church you are looking at right now. So I want to talk to those young people this afternoon. And then we need you once again. We need you. We need people in those young people that the hand of the Lord will be upon and begin to raise you once again. You know, I'm telling you right now, I know that he's listening to me in Maseru, but Pastor Dube was one of the first people who was our impact leader. Out of that came a pastor. Out of that came a regional pastor. We need young people where God can go and be and resource this church. Find some people who will be great in the church again. Find some people who will be an influence in the community. Find some people. We have this man standing right here. He's one of the most sought out influencers in Africa. He came from those bunch of young people. I want to talk to those young people tonight. There was a time in this church we didn't even have impact, because the whole church was impact. If we said let's have impact, everybody will turn up. So we didn't even bother to have impact. But it is those same young people that have made the church what it is today. And I want to call upon those young people again. We need you. I need you. Jesus needs you. This community needs you. We need some young people who are sold out to God, who are radical for God. Let the revival start there. Let me see some young people coming to pray here on Thursday. You know, during those days we had young people would just come. We'll find young people all over this auditorium praying. Well, but, yeah, during lunch, when they knock off from school, there'll be a bunch there, there'll be a bunch there. Remember, we didn't have impact. There'll be a bunch there, there'll be a bunch here, there'll be a bunch there, there'll be a bunch on the floor, just worshiping the Lord. Remember, we did not have a department, we had nothing, but it was just a whole bunch of people just hungry for God. If you were to ask me, what will spark a church? What will spark a revival in this church? If you were to ask me, I'll give you a number of reasons. If you were to ask me what will spark a revival in this church, I would say, Lord, give me a bunch of young people who are fired up for God. If you were to ask me what will spark a revival in this church, I'd say, give me a bunch of young people who would serve as ushers and be on fire. Give me a bunch of young people who will be in the praise and worship team, and their job is not just to sing, their job is to call on heaven to show up. Give me a bunch of young people that will go out in the streets without a program, without a Matthew and friends. And those things used to happen. People used to go to City Hall. People used to go up and down. And all of these people were every Saturday. We were witnessing every Saturday. Every Saturday. Nobody told us to go. Nobody gave us a program. We just said we need to just go and witness, and we'll be all over Bulawayo here from in the morning until in the afternoon. And let me tell you, sometimes as we would be driving back home, to tally the numbers, we will be in the car in my R4, and somebody will say, Mfundisi, just wait a little bit, just manam bicha na ngike ngishaya laba naba yi4 ngicela ume lapha ngicela uphake lapha ngike ngiyeshaya aba yi4 kuphela. And then we will go home and we'll stop the car and they'll jump out and they'll go and witness to people, and people will get born again. I'm telling you, we need young people who are like that at Word of Life. Are there any young people who are like that at Word of Life today? Impact these days siyaphucuka. Sesisenza into ezokuvenue ezile poster ezilandi ezile ezile style ezile all of these things that have got swag. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if we have all of that and that swag and all that thing doesn't touch lives, it doesn't change lives, it doesn't bring the presence of God into the church, then what is it for? Mom and I were almost 60 years old. We started this about 30 years ago when we were in our prime. I think it's about time that some 30-year-olds got up and did what we were doing during those days. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Hallelujah, amen. Hallelujah, thine the glory. Revive. Hallelujah. 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 Glory. If you were to ask me what will bring revival to Word of Life, I would say we need a new brand or type of leadership. When we were here, the leaders were not celebrities. The leaders were not stars. The leaders were not people who just sat here on the third row. The leaders were not people who just wore ties. There were no ties to wear those days. The leaders were not people that had bags and stuff carried. The leaders were not people that had a whole bunch of entourage. No, that was not us. The leaders were the ones who were on the forefront of prayer. They were the ones who were on the forefront of soul winning. They were on the ones who were on the forefront of follow up. They were on the ones who were on the forefront of going to funerals. That's what the leaders did. And I pray to God that God will touch leaders once again. If there's ever a problem that we need to solve at Word of Life, if there's a revival that is needed at Word of Life, it's not a revival of the pews, but it's a revival of the pulpit. It's not a revival of the pews, but it's a revival of leaders. And if we can get the leaders to pray, if we can get the leaders to be on fire, if the leaders can come on Thursday, if the leaders can fast, if deacons can come, if the HODs can come when there's a meeting and they're on fire for God, we will be on our way to having a revival. Hallelujah, 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 Sapetoria Mandolele Boshaka, revival. Hallelujah. 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 If you were to ask me what we need to do to have a revival here at Word of Life, I'll tell you this. You know, a Word of Life, we have done stuff that nobody else has done. Let me tell you, in most churches, if you are a woman, you don't automatically get to sit in the same seat of power as your husband. You don't. Your husband can be a deacon, but not you. Your husband can be an HOD, but not you. Your husband can be a pastor, but not you. That's not what we have done at Word of Life. What we have done at Word of Life is try to push the women flock to come along with us. But let me tell you, one of the biggest disappointments that I have is that sometimes women come along to the meetings, but they're not even there spiritually. We need the women. We need the women. We need the women leaders to rise up. We need the women leaders to take their places. Sifuna omamfundisi abakhona. Sifuna omamfundisi abathandazayo. Sifuna omamfundisi abathanda uNkulunkulu. Sifuna omamfundisi who are on fire for God. Sifuna omamfundisi who will come to prayer. Sifuna omamfundisi who will go out witnessing. Sifuna omamfundisi abathanda abantu. Sifuna omamfundisi abalento ngaphakathi abayidingayo. Thoda vanama imfundisi vanechinhu chironoda kuda kwairwa Mwari mukati. Because I'll tell you what, many times when we want to take a step forward, we have to wait for our partners. We have to wait for our women. We have to wait for people to come along. And sometimes that doesn't just open up. I'm sorry for some of I'm glad I'm married to a godly woman. But I'm sorry for some of the pastors, some of the deacons, some of the leaders. The woman is not anywhere. The woman is a dead weight. The woman is not coming along. May God revive the women of Word of Life. You have been given such an opportunity that doesn't happen in other churches. May God revive the women of Word of Life. If you are a house mother, if you are the chair of a woman's thing, no, that's not just to collect money. It's not just to cause people to sweep the church. It's not just to call on people to attend meetings. It's not so that they can cook and do something. It is so they can love the Lord with all of their heart, with all of their soul. Hallelujah. Hey!